This is Open Parley Live. This is Open Parley Live.
Hello and a warm welcome to Open Parley Live here on Open Parley. My name is Lynette Manzini. Thank you very much for joining us today. In today's conversation, we want to talk about water. Water is a human right. You know, access to water is a human right. It's a basic right that somebody should be able to access. But I am joined in the studio here by Mr. Reuben Akili. He is the Combined Harare Residents Association Director. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lynn, for the conversation and this important subject of discussion.
I know, right? But when we were having a conversation before we came live, I was actually feeling a bit depressed about some of the issues that you were highlighting, and I hope you're going to highlight them in this conversation. So last week, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works appeared before Parliament, and he then hinted that the government is planning on privatizing water. Before we get into our conversation, I'd like us to watch a short clip of him in Parliament talking about the issue of privatization.
Indeed, we are pursuing, in fact, branching from South Africa, whereby allocation is made upfront to say every household has got this allocation, but any usage which is extra to that allocation will then be kind of be charged. This also ensures that there is a responsible use of water. So it's very fundamental. So there are many models which we are pursuing, and like I said, we are at an advanced stage as ministry before we can submit to cabinet the principles of the privatization of water. So I gave an example of solid waste management to say we are done with that in terms of privatizing solid waste management, and we are now going and getting into the principles of privatizing water. We are making some concerted investments in terms of my roads, in terms of my bulk water through Anazilwa. I'm sure we are all aware that Kunji is under construction. Michekerana yakalonjwa, and Michekerana, by the way, will also contribute to Harare, especially the eastern side of Harare. We have Gwaishangani to target and to end all the water wars for Bulawayo once and for all, and for the next maybe 5 or 6 decades.
So that's the permanent secretary appearing before Parliament, Mr. Akili. Was that the first time you heard this? Because you work with residents, you work with council, you work with the ministry. Was this the first time you heard about privatizing of water?
Thank you so much, Lynette. It's not the first time. In fact, the agenda of privatizing water started around even 2013. In fact, even long back before, if you go to research papers which has been done in Zimbabwe around water, you actually see that there has been some machinations aimed at privatizing water. But some of the people who then did not put money in the business, I think one of their key questions was the willingness to pay, to say how were they going to then recoup, or how can they be able to then get their money back. So
the investors, you're referring to?
The so-called investors. So you realize that has been a kind of like a going back forth. And until I think for the past 3 years, we have seen these machinations or this agenda being probed and also being pushed now at a faster pace, which we feel that I think they are offside.
Why do you think that they're offside, Mr. Akili? Because coming from a point where Harare City Council is failing to provide water. 2 days ago, we had a show here, and the host was telling us before they came to host the show, they had to push a wheelbarrow with 100 liters of water so that they would, go to the borehole and get the water and then come back home. We've heard of situations where young girls are actually abused because they go to the boreholes at 4 a.m. to fetch water because you cannot access water in the home. Isn't this a good idea? Because you will then have water in your taps. Because yes, it's for profit, but then I think in terms of getting it into the house, isn't this the solution?
Thank you so much, Lynn.
I
So
like the smile, and I hope this is not trouble.
yeah. So thank you so much. So when you pointed out a good way to say access.
Mm,
So access is determined by many factors.
mm,
It might be the availability of water or even affordability.
mm,
So when we talk of privatization, it has got a profit motive.
mm,
So again, even considering the current status where residents they are failing even to pay even for the public for the water they are getting from the local authority because of the issues of affordability.
mm.
So you cannot then justify an increase because privatization, when we talk of privatization, the profit motive, which you see that even people will not be able to afford. And again, the same girl which you are talking about will still go to the stream to get water because in their home, they cannot be able to buy, just like the electricity, what we are looking at, Lynn. People thought that they were going to have prepaid electricity meters, they're going to have electricity. That is nonsense. Because at this moment, people are still going looking for firewood in mountains.
But Mr. Akili, does it mean that residents want free water? Because if you're saying right now they cannot afford what council is pumping with the prices that they've pegged, and then when you bring in investors, when you privatize, it means it's going to go high. So what is it that residents want exactly? And are they not the ones also contributing to the water crisis in Harare because they are not paying for their water?
No, that's wrong. The water crisis has not been caused by residents. I think that would be, I think, misinforming listeners. The water problems in Harare stems out from the issues around climate change, climate variability patterns. As you are aware, even last year, the local authority itself decommissioned Prince Edward because there was no water in the dam. So, and then furthermore to that, the same local authority, which is the city of Harare, which we're talking about at the moment, discharge raw sewage into Lake Chivero, and then this then increases water purification cost. So I don't see where we would point out to say the residents have been contributing. I tell you, one thing which we have...
Are they paying their rates though? Do you think that we don't have a problem in residents in as far as them paying for their water?
Okay. So what is very, very important, Lynn, to understand around issues of water is that water has been used by the local authority as a way of pushing residents to pay for services which are other than water.
Okay.
So we have a composite billing here. The local authority has got a bill which have got water, which have got refuse, and it's collective. And some of the services are not being offered. So again, some residents, they feel probably they are being shortchanged, and at the end of the day, they don't pay because they are not getting the service. Even some residents, I know some residents in Budiriro who are being charged for water consumption when there's no water even in their home. And there are many factors which we can start to talk about here to say, because the moment when you say that the chaotic billing system of the city of Harare, where someone last received water, let's say probably 2, 3, 4 years ago, and he's got a bill of water which ranges around to $60 to $100 when you don't receive water.
Not even a drop.
Yes. So what is very, very important for the local authority, I think this is could be a good conversation to say, how do we deal with the billing system? How do we deal with estimates on billing? In fact, the issue of billing remains a key component here. And I think the issue of...
And it's one of the reasons that the minister refused the Harare budget because, they wanted Harare City Council to deal with the billing system.
Yeah, maybe we did not see that communication, but I think it's prudent because the city of Harare, or what they call the ERP, which then hosts billing, it's chaotic, it's opaque, it's just chaos. So I think if they deal with that as a first component, when I was talking to you, Lynn, here, there are some people who are connected to municipal water supply. We're talking of non-revenue water when you're talking about. There's some people who are connected to municipal water who are not connected to the billing system. So do you then say it is the reason for residents? Who connected the water to the residents? They are the engineers. And you cannot go to a main trunk of water, even any one of us in here, and then connect him or yourself.
Someone within the
Exactly.
council has
So
to
we
do it.
really need to start to deal with those issues. As long as those issues are not dealt with, even privatizing, so people think that running away from responsibility, the government and the local authorities cannot run away from responsibility of providing residents water, and trying to then give it to public entities to escape accountability. That's wrong. In fact, it will not work. Privatization have never worked. I've heard even the permanent sector of South Africa. People are struggling in South Africa to get water there. Only that South African government, which he did not highlight, that is they've got a threshold, which I might not say free because people pay taxes. They've got a threshold of about 5,000 liters. So their water is on prepayment. So the 5,000 liter first it's probably coming from the government, as a safety net for those who cannot afford. Those who are marginalized and everything. And then after that, you can start. So if you buy, let's say for example, water for $10, you then have those 5,000, and then after you have the first one which you would have bought, and then with the 5,000 remaining. So those are some of the things which these people they don't want to mention when we talk about the issue. But again, residents do not want free service. I think that's also a misconception. Residents need the things which are transparent. Residents need the things which are straight. Residents need quality municipal services. Even the monies which the local authority which they are getting, where they come, where it is coming from? It's coming from the same residents. So again, that notion to think that residents they don't pay, but we have never heard them talking of industries who are not paying for water.
You are a true residents advocate, and we see I've seen how I've just ruffled the feathers here with you by saying, aren't the residents here to blame? But hold that thought. So in case you're just joining us, you are tuned into Open Pali Live here on Open Pali. My name is Lynette Manzini, and we're talking about privatizing water. And I'm here in the studio with Mr. Reuben Akili. Let us know what you think in the comment section. So Harare City Council has been failing has been failing to provide water. The government has been failing to provide water in the city of Harare. What do you think is the solution? The government right now is planning on privatizing water. This means that bringing in investors who are going to be doing it instead of Harare City Council, and these people are going to be doing it for a profit. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section. Mr. Akili, let's go back to the issue of the privatization. And I want you issued a joint statement, Combined Harare Residents Association and Harare Residents Trust.
Yes.
What are your main points of objecting the privatization as associations?
Okay. So us when we talk about these things, we are also informed also by research. Number one. Number two, we have been working in communities. We hear what people say in communities, and also we have tried also to learn from other countries which are more of like which operate in more of like in our context. So the first thing is that as I highlighted when I started this conversation to say, when water is privatized, number one, the issue is that people won't be able then to afford. Because this is a profit motive. That's number one. Number two, if you understand the issue around it, in fact, our constitution have got these keywords: accountability. So you realize that private companies are not accountable to you, Lynn. Even if you get the water, they are not accountable to you. They're accountable to the contractor. This then, cripples or kind of like, affect the accountability mechanisms which are already existing. I think we really need to appreciate that when we have a private company, that's why we see that even say there've been a battle to say Rufaro Marketing and the City Park etc, because these are private companies. They are not obliged to publicize information whether they are making profits or not. So again, this then it distances away people from what? From accountability. And remember, we are operating in local governance framework here, where the closest government to the people is local government. And again, when we take away that responsibility to give it to someone, it becomes too far from them. And then the issues of accountability, which you are talking about, and the other issues which right, even the other issues around access to information. You cannot be able to then access information for the purposes of accountability, to then enforce accountability to those people. And again, the other issue is we really need to understand what is meant by public property. So, City of Harare owns Morton Jeffrey Waterworks. City of Harare owns all these reservoir tanks in the local authority area. And this water infrastructure, Lynn, has got value, millions or billions of dollars. So the local authority uses this infrastructure, right, to then look for loans, to then even probably, again, it might be to finance water or other functions which it wanted to finance. I remember I was talking this to another reporter, to a journalist, to say, if you understand, Trafalgar Court at some point in time was used as a collateral for City of Harare to have those refuse trucks which were funded by Bange BC. Because if they would have failed, they would have said, oh, we have got, So the moment when we begin to take away, when we privatize, Morton Jeffrey is now owned by Lynn. We are stripping public assets, giving it to individuals. And these are elites. We know these are the elites. These elites are aimed at taking public property, for profit, which is unacceptable. At the end of the day, you have a local authority which owns nearly virtually next to nothing. And slowly, the local authority, the City of Harare, has been stripped of its assets. We have seen, I think, the issue of Gombare Marara Jerjero Chitorwa, and then a pit where we dump, and that's unacceptable. So again, when the local authority loses such infrastructure, as I said, your Morton Jeffrey, your Prince Edward, all those reservoirs, now they no longer have assets which can then be able to help them to have loans from banks, and again even to have that bankable. And when they access
and Mr. Akili, as you were talking, I just remembered that during the First Republic under Robert Mugabe, the late Robert Mugabe, there was a loan that they took out. They took a loan and were financing the refurbishment of our water treatment plant here in Harare. And taxpayers were the ones that were paying back this money, obviously. And, these are part of the Harare residents. And then, as you were saying it, I was literally seeing the picture in my eyes. You took a loan, you fixed Morton Jeffrey, now you give it to private players and then they make profit. It doesn't actually make sense unless they're saying they are going to build their own water treatment plant and then service a certain area where people can afford. Because I'm sure there are some affluent suburbs, maybe with individuals that can afford that type of water. I think that would, be a better plan. So I do get where you're coming from, and it doesn't make sense at all. But has the government communicated this with you? I know you said that this issue has been a long time coming, but the recent utterances means that they're trying to, he says they're already working on the principles of, the documents concerning this privatization. Have you been engaged as associations or as residents and as council again? But before you respond to that, I want us to play a video of an official from council, Mr. Stanley Gama, and what his take on the privatization of water and how it's different from the permanent secretary. Let's watch this video clip.
In the first place, I'm hearing for the first time that there's going to be, or there's a suggestion to privatize water. So I don't really understand what it means to privatize water. But what I actually tell you is that, the population of Harare has grown so big. Whether water is privatized or city council is offering, that's not the problem. The problem is the source of water. Our source of water has become too small. Whether it's privatized or not, it's too small for the population of Harare. Remember, Lake Chirero, our main source of water, was built in 1952, around 52-53, to cater for 200,000 people. Now we have in excess of 4 million people in Harare. The real solution is to have another dam or more water sources around Harare, like Kunji Dam. That would be the solution. But anyway, having said that, privatization, if I understand what it means some other people will come to supply water for huge profits. Obviously, it will be beyond the reach of many people. Most of our residents can't afford it, send me, what about expensive water? It will not be easy.
You are singing from the same hymn book. I suppose, yes, residents cannot afford, the economic situation is not so great. So making it a profit venture then disadvantages other residents. Now, my question to you is, the permanent secretary is planning this. An official from council is saying, I don't know about it. How is this happening, Mr. Akili? And why?
Now, maybe the first thing is I would like to say, as I said to you, that local government is the closest government to the people. And when you hear Stanley Gama, he's kind of like close to the people, and he understands the people better than the permanent secretary. I think from his presentation, he has showed that the local authority is local, and the central government is up there.
Yes.
And so you realize that the issues which the permanent secretary then say at a central level, they are not found at local level. And when that type of development, which is what we call top-down approach, it's autocratic. It will not even find, in fact, it's not wise, to implement, because it is devoid of citizen participation. When you look at our constitution, Lynn, it's very clear. Even when you look at, I'm forgetting the section, but again, when you look at the constitution, it speaks to say citizens need to be consulted.
Yes.
And the residents, also like the residents of Harare, when we are talking of this privatization agenda, they need also to be in the loop to say what's informing the government to do that and all those things. Because when you make a decision on behalf of people without their voice, there is a slogan which people say, nothing for us without us. And
Poor
I think,
uptake.
so I think that's the reason why I would begin to say, maybe they've got another agenda beyond water provision, which I think probably they would share later. But let me go back. If you read the Water Act, it's very clear. I think I'm forgetting again the section, but Water Act, the first line which you start to read from the Water Act, said no to privatization of water. So again, the permanent secretary also, I may probably, and others, they also need to go and read that provision and see probably if they would want to align it or to want to change it. But again, we feel that it's a strong provision which those who made that law were had the people in mind. They understood that water is a human right, that water is a public good, that in as much as it can be used as an economic good, but we cannot then peddle the economic aspect of it, at the expense of the public, good aspect of it. So again, it's very, very important for people to be able to understand it from that perspective. And it's good that the local authorities, they are saying that we have not heard about it. But again, we know the context which we are operating. Things in a city of Harare. Tomorrow you would hear that a certain company has taken over waste management, and probably even some of the officials, they are not aware. So again, to Mr. Gama and other colleagues, they also need to introspect to say, where is it coming from? And even probably from how to urge the mayor to write to the ministry, right, to ask, to say, we understand according to the media reports that you want to privatize water. What is the framework? What is the model? So that at the end of the day, or the confirmation to hear, we want to confirm whether you want to privatize water or not. Because we at the end of the day, we both want to run away from politics, where people start to throw it as, we don't know about it, others say we know about it, and at the end of the day, it causes confusion. And at the end of the day, when such projects or such things are implemented, it is then the ordinary residents who then suffer from this probably communication coming
You
from.
make very valid points. Involve the residents and involve the local authorities instead of just using the top-down approach, because half the time when such projects are rolled out, there's very low uptake, and that then does not bring a solution to the problem that we're actually facing. I want us to look at non-revenue water. On the same day when he appeared before Parliament, the permanent secretary said that only 40%, so whatever amount council is pumping out, only 40% gets to the households, gets to its destination where it's supposed to be used, but 60% is non-revenue water. And in this video clip that we just watched, Stanley Gama, the official from council, is saying, let's deal with that. Where are we, finding it? Where are we experiencing problems as Harare in terms of dealing with burst pipes? Because this has been a problem for over 10 years now.
Yeah. In the world, all over the world, I was in Tanzania, I was in Kenya, they also face challenges of non-revenue water. But I think what is very, very important
At 60%,
it is the percentage now. So we really need to then lower the percentage. When you look at the non-revenue water which we have in Harare, mainly it is emanating from two aspects: illegal connections and also physical losses, which you call water-based. And then these physical water losses, these are mostly from the main, trunk, lines which supply water to the local authority area. And then there are some cooperatives, who are getting water, but they are also not connected to the billing, which is an issue, which we feel that step by step, the local authority at this moment needs to look at those properties that are connected to its municipal water supplies. And it's very, very easy to do that. And then ensure that they are also billed. Even the people there who are connected, they don't also want free water, and I think we really need to appreciate that. But again, I think the issue is about how do we then cost our water and ensure that it's affordable. So it's very, very important. Remember, water, when it's a public service, it's not for profit motive.
Yes.
They just break even and ensure that they have those running costs. For your information, for the past years, 40% of the revenue, which was then, to the city of Harare, coming to the local authority, was coming from water. So water has been contributing in terms of revenue. And those people who want to privatize water, they know that this has been a cash cow. In fact, at some point in time, we know that Zinwa was given the task to then take over water supplies in Harare. I don't know. And we objected to say, look, guys, centralization. You see, Lynn, things. Let's just follow the law here. Centralization will not bring any good to any resident or any citizen in Zimbabwe. And we told them. I remember Margaret Zinyemba, the late Margaret Zinyemba, the then she was the secretary, the chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, and we appeared as crowd. We were opposing that, and and they said no, but it's coming from cabinet. What? Later, they are bringing back it to City of Harare. So what had happened in the cabinet? So the things which we were telling them 2 years ago, they do opposite, and then they started to do those again, giving it back to the local authority. Yeah. So what I'm trying to put across is we don't do trial and error methods in the things that have got a human life on it. And these experiments, which these colleagues want to then do, will have serious implications. Look at the time of Zinwa, more than 2,000 people died with cholera because things were just chaotic that time. And then that's the reason why they then say, cabinet was misinformed. I remember again the late Margaret Zinyemba saying, we're misinformed, we're not told the truth, because the things, this is a huge undertaking which I think requires sober thinking. We don't need emotions in these things. We really need to be very, very objective and understand the context and everything, so that at the end of the day we are not only disappoint ourselves, but we also contribute to the loss of life. Water is life, and its absence or its adequacy can be able to contribute to disease outbreaks and loss of lives. So again, those who are touting privatization, I think they really need to get down to the bottom of the matter and say what framework does it work. But from us, we are opposed. I think I've told you it have never worked, and it will never work.
We were having this same conversation yesterday, and somebody suggested that sometimes council actually issues a statement to say they're running out of chemicals, so they're not going to be pumping water, which means they understand their role and know that it's important to pump quality water. They actually stop, and we go without water for some time. But now if somebody is doing it for profit, they decide, okay, we don't have chemicals, let's just pump the water. we are headed towards a disaster.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier on, the issue of accountability, they don't owe it to the residents. The residents can't even go and question them anymore because they're in it for their business, and the person who gave them the job is the one who they're going to be answerable to. But now, how do we get the individual who's going to get this contract, and how can the residents be involved?
Yeah. From our side, from the residents' perspective, Lynn, to say who's going to get the contract and whatever, when we are saying no to it,
You cannot even go that far.
We cannot go that far. We don't promote stripping of public assets and the handing over to to elites, to the powerful elites. It's unfortunate because it then not only affect our local governance system, but again it then impact on our local authorities. We have said this again and again, Lynn, that they will need full implementation of devolution. Local authorities, chapter 14 of the constitution is very, very clear. The current devolution, which is being again talked about, it's not devolution, it's deconcentration. The presence, the increase of the presence of the state in the local authorities, which is not devolution. Devolution is local authorities need to have a level of autonomy and also ensure that they also play their role in the management and of the affairs of their local authority. If you read section 276 of the constitution, is very, very clear to say local authorities have got all necessary powers to run their local affairs on their own initiative. And this is the constitution. Again, I think that is what is very, very important also to those who are both elected and non-elected officials. We really need to embrace the constitution, Lynn. If we fail in our governance component, we cannot be able to then deliver the much required services. So what I'm trying to put across is full implementation of devolution as provided for in the constitution is a way to go. Look, we elected provincial councillors recently, in August. Where are they? They are not sitting, and we had even reports, there were some allegations that some of them are getting sitting allowances and
for sitting at home.
Yeah. And we heard also that these were just allegations, but also the 2024 budget for which was then put in place by the Minister of Finance, it has got a provision, a budget allocation to these provincial councils. And right now they are not sitting,
because there's no law that makes it possible.
So those are the things which the Minister of the Permanent Secretary of Local Government needs to pursue. Those are some of the things which they need to pursue. Atange kwenda kumberi ko tisataita zvinhu zvatinofanira kunge tichiita this time. The Minister of Local Government, the Permanent Secretary is the technocrat here. He needs to inform, his minister that at this moment we really need to implement devolution. We need to put up provincial structures. They need to operationalize. We need to put those laws. At the end of the day, it can help, because if you look at the role of the provincial council, it's more of like environmental. And the environmental component, Lynn, it is that which bring water to the residents. And again, we've been failing on the environmental aspect, and sometimes we ignore nature in terms of in the water supply matrix. So if you can even privatize, but if you don't have water from the skies, what are you going to get? So that can be a subject for another discussion. But I'm trying to put across to say, when we are making all these plans, are we considering every aspect of it? Because sometimes you might think that this is the problem, but it might not be the problem. So in conclusion, from CRA, what I can be able to say is that privatization of water will not improve water supply. There's a notion that private entities provide better services. It's a notion. We have seen people complaining even of pies. Open between the pie, you see
no meat.
No meat. But it is a private company. So again, so we need to then to be alive of the facts that private.
Okay, in an ideal world, privatizing would be a good thing, I suppose, but it's not an ideal world.
In France, I think I will not mention the company name here, for some other reasons. They were first they privatized, but again, the people there were also starting to say, we need to bring back to the
To the
public.
mm.
In England, where I think we need to understand where this agenda came from. I think for those who have read literature, those who go to school, the time of Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, the Washington Consensus. That's where this whole agenda of privatizing, public goods. But again, in other contexts, it has never worked. Even in the areas which they are talking about, hey, it's working, it's working. You see, they've got serious problems where even some of these public, private companies are supplying water. So again, we really need to then do our research well and ensure that we protect the residents. The residents need to be protected from these arrangements which are aimed at sidelining them to the periphery of local government. These are the moment when these things happen, people are then not found in the decision making processes. So again, I think to the local authority city of Harare, I think we really need also to be very, very clear to them that we are opposed to the privatization of any service which the local authority provides, and we because of the same reasons which I've mentioned.
Okay, and let's talk about alternative sources, alternative solutions. Yes, you're saying no to privatization, but then we still have a challenge of water. Others have suggested let's fix the pipes. Others have also said let's build a dam. Let's work on building a dam. But you also highlighted that we're experiencing climate change. If we build a dam and there's no water, how are we going to supply that? What are the other avenues that we can look at as a city in dealing with the issue of water?
Yeah. So the city, I think the other proposal which have been mentioned, which I think probably has been, the issue of us, ensuring that we have, a reduction in run revenue water. That's the first step. The second step, Lynn, if it is the issue of sewerage getting into Lake Chivita. That sewerage is coming from Chitungwiza. It's known. That sewerage, some of it comes from Epworth. That sewerage comes from, if you go to Marimba River, if you're going to Marimba River, it is the river which runs through National Sports Stadium. Upstream here, you will see the water is clear, just like a glass. But after you reach Kambuzuma, the water is just sewer infested. It's gray. It's like black, like these cameras. And this is the
Our
same.
cameras are not
the
black,
cameras,
please.
they are black or gray, whatever.
I'm
But
joking.
or even like these
Couches.
couches, and what are the implications of having such dirty raw water, to access to water? This then limits, because what happens, that's the reason why you end up with the locals say, we don't have water treatment chemicals. Like right now, they are using between, I think, 9 to 11 water treatment chemicals. So
To treat the sewage.
exactly, to treat. Thank you so much. To treat the raw sewage, we have Cobra and I think the officials, not I think the officials from the same clip. Remember, we had petitioned the parliament, so
Yes.
they were kind of like responding to our parliament,
To yours, yes.
to our issues here. The official from Upper Manyamba from EMA highlighted that the sewer treatment plans for the local authority were not working. And these are the issues now to say. So we are more of like, Lini, takafana ne wana pachirungu inonzi open defecation. Harare residents, they are openly defecating, but
In
again,
our water
it's-
source.
Exactly, but it's organized because it finds its way through pipes, and at the end of the day, it's found again.
So
in the river.
some engineer sitting somewhere decided to channel the sewage into the water source.
Because number one, because we really needed to address the issue of the sewer reticulation to ensure that it does not, especially the sewer, the crossings which cross rivers, to say we close, we address those sewer based. We then address the rehabilitate Cobra and fail sewer treatment plant, including the Chitungwiza one. So if we rehabilitate those ones, you ensure that the water now getting into Lake Chivero becomes of better quality.
Okay.
Which is very, very key. Number one. As a solution now.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but go ahead.
Yeah, but like as I said, number one, they deal with that, and then the other issue, we continuously, destroy the environment. The catchment area here in Harare, it's most of them like Harare sits on its headwaters. We really need to ensure that we protect wetlands for water provision. I was in Mavuku, there's a wetland there. Go right now. Water is coming out from the ground, going straight to the stream. Where is it coming from? It's not raining. This is a dry season, but water is coming from the ground. So those are the role of these wetlands. That in these seasons, in these dry seasons, water continue to be what? To be then charged into rivers. Researches were done. I think Prof. Magadza did a research that at some point in time during the 80s, you would actually see it all year round. Seke Dam and Arava Dam would spew, and water will continue to flow to Lake Shiver. But nowadays, if you reach this season now, you will see it's no longer spewing.
Because we have buildings on top of all the wetlands now.
So this whole issue, privatizing, whatever, this is a serious environmental and planning issue. We cannot just put water as a component to say if we privatize it, we're going to solve everything. We really need to look at all those aspects that bring us water. At the end of the day, we can also be able to have sustainable water provision, which is not even privatized, because...
On that note, I'd like to thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but there you have it, viewers. That was Mr. Reuben Akili. He's the director from the Combined Harare Residents Association, and he was just talking to us about the privatization of water. And he says that we need to deal with non-revenue water. All the leakages must stop, and the issues of channeling raw sewage into our water source needs to stop, and so that council uses fewer chemicals to treat water, and thirdly, refurbish the sewage treatment plants in Kolbra and Chitungwiza, so that we don't have sewage within our water sources. So let us know what you think about this issue. We will continue to be covering this issue and see whether the residents will succeed in stopping privatization. And we wish you luck on this journey. So there you have it, listeners. Until next time, my name is Lynette Manzini. Goodbye.